Leah Kim hurried down the rain-slicked streets, her jacket drenched and clinging to her arms as she clutched a simple canvas tote bag against her side. The early morning chill had soaked through her clothes, and her hair was damp, stuck in loose strands around her face. She wiped a bead of sweat away, not from heat, but nervous anticipation. Today was her first day at the Silver Spoon, an elite restaurant nestled in the business district, known industry-wide for its immaculate kitchen and high culinary standards. Inside, gleaming steel appliances gleamed under bright lights, white uniforms moved swiftly and effortlessly, voices rang with sharp, practiced commands, and the sharp scent of fresh herbs mingled with stainless steel. The world Leah had walked into was one polished to perfection, every detail meticulously managed, every person playing a defined part with pride and precision. Leah slipped quietly into the kitchen area, careful not to disrupt the orchestrated flow. Her plain attire, old sneakers, well-worn jeans, and a simple shirt, stood out amid the pristine whites and blacks around her. Several chefs glanced in her direction, eyes narrowing with quiet skepticism. They mistook her for a recently hired dishwasher, just another transient face in the bustling crew. Marco, the head line cook, spotted her near the prep stations and smirked. "Hey dishwasher," he called, his tone sharp and dismissive, glancing over her like she was invisible. "We've got a spill by the salad station. Grab some towels and take care of that before you get in the way." The kitchen hum paused briefly as a few cooks exchanged smirks, the unspoken message clear: Leah was just another subordinate here, not someone to be reckoned with. Yet, Leah simply nodded in acknowledgement, her eyes steady beneath the damp strands of hair framing her face. Leah gave a polite smile and responded with a soft, "Right away," turning on her heel without another word. The kitchen chatter resumed around her like a low tide as she headed out of the immediate bustle of the line cooks and sous chefs. Instead of fetching towels or mopping the spill, Leah took a decisive step in the opposite direction, toward the brightly lit glass doors of the front office, where the quieter but equally important business of running the Silver Spoon unfolded. The polished floors gave way to the warmth of soft carpet as Leah entered human resources. She tapped lightly on the door, encountering a neatly dressed man who looked up from his clipboard. "Ms. Kim, welcome," he said, standing to shake her hand. "I'm Mr. Patterson. Pleased to finally meet you." Leah returned the handshake firmly, her gaze steady and calm. "Thank you for having me," she replied, her voice even and composed despite the lingering tightness from the morning rush. Mr. Patterson gestured toward a comfortable chair, motioning for Leah to sit. "We've been looking forward to your arrival. Your reputation precedes you. Leading the Silver Spoon's operations is no small task, but judging by your record, you're just the person for it." Leah sank into the chair, catching her breath. The polished professionalism of the room contrasted sharply with the damp, chaotic kitchen she'd just left. "I'm eager to get started," she said. "There's a lot to learn, and I want to make sure I understand the team and the challenges fully." Across town, back in the kitchen, Marco swaggered by the prep table, humming a tune as if the morning's encounter was nothing but a minor inconvenience. He grabbed a fresh towel and leaned into a cluster of cooks, lowering his voice just enough for them to hear. "You should have seen the new dishwasher. Thought she was gonna mop the floor for us all day. Told her to grab the towels and fix the spill. Pfft, didn't even bat an eye when I said it. Bet she's clueless." The kitchen crew chuckled and exchanged glances, perhaps wary that their confidence bordered on underestimation. But Marco wasn't done. "We'll see how long she lasts. The Silver Spoon doesn't take kindly to weaklings." Meanwhile, Leah sat with Mr. Patterson, reviewing the organizational chart and staff rosters he'd provided. She asked insightful questions about daily operations, bottlenecks, and the restaurant's ambitions. Each page of the reports detailed orders, timing breakdowns, and feedback from diners, painting a vivid picture of the high stakes they faced. "Your experience managing teams in New York's toughest kitchens will be invaluable here," Mr. Patterson said. "We want to push the silver spoon to new heights, both in culinary excellence and customer experience." Leah nodded thoughtfully. Efficiency is key. But so is respect for the team. It's not just about fast service, but making sure the people doing the work feel valued. That's how you build loyalty and consistency. There was a flicker of appreciation in Mr. Patterson's eyes. Exactly. We can't afford turnover or sour morale. I'm hoping your leadership will help us shape a culture that supports both greatness and empathy. The conversation flowed with purpose and clarity, highlighting Leah's quiet confidence. She didn't need to correct the kitchen's assumptions through confrontation or spectacle. Instead, her actions would speak louder in time. Back in the kitchen, the staff began to notice that Leah hadn't gone to mop or even fetch towels. Rumors started to swirl quietly. Some shrugged it off as the new dishwasher's nerves, others exchanged more dubious looks. But no one dared contest Marco's version of events outright. "I handled the new girl," he bragged one more time while wiping down a cutting board. Despite the undercurrent of skepticism, the kitchen's smooth rhythm continued, though it now carried a subtle undercurrent of uncertainty. Everyone wondered when or if the new employee would show her real role, and what that might mean for the dynamic they thought they'd already sized up. Leah, meanwhile, sat in the office, reviewing detailed schedules, inventory lists, and customer satisfaction reports. Each document told a story of small inefficiencies and areas where the headquarters wanted the silver spoon to improve visibility and performance. She made notes, already envisioning how to communicate subtle but critical adjustments that could enhance the team's daily workflow. She also considered her appearance, the simple clothing, the damp jacket abandoned in the corner. It would have been easy to dress for status today to command immediate respect, but Leah believed otherwise. She wanted to understand the silver spoon without the distractions of pretense, to see who the team really was before they learned who she was. Mr. Patterson stood and smiled, appreciating her understated approach more than she knew. "One last thing," he said lightly. "We'll have a meeting with the full team later today. I want to introduce you properly." Leah felt a small surge of anticipation beneath her calm exterior. This was her moment. But she'd continue to listen first, lead second. When she looked back toward the kitchen through the glass window, Leah caught a glimpse of Marco, still confidently holding court. It was clear she had her work cut out for her, not just in running the restaurant, but in earning the respect of those who believed they already knew her place. Her lips curved into a quiet smile. She was ready. On this first day, the dishwasher was anything but. The dining room hummed with activity as the midday rush began to wind down. Tables cleared and polished, waitstaff adjusted silverware with practiced precision, and behind the scenes, the kitchen had settled into a controlled rhythm. Today, however, the usual frenetic energy carried a subtle tension, an undercurrent of curiosity and hushed speculation. The staff had been summoned to a meeting, a rare occurrence demanding their full attention. Leah stood near the entrance to the dining area, her posture relaxed yet measured. Her simple attire remained unchanged, soft slacks and a blouse that betrayed no hint of the high-level position she now held. Her hair, still damp from the morning's rain, was tucked neatly behind her ears. Despite the understated impression she made, there was an unmistakable air of authority about her. She didn't need ornate clothing or flashy badges to command respect, it radiated quietly from within. "Everyone, if I can have your attention please," Mr. Patterson called from near the host station, his voice calm but firm. The murmuring in the room dropped away, and all eyes turned toward the front where he stood with a poised smile. "As you know, change is a constant in our business. To continue surpassing expectations, We must evolve and embrace new leadership. Heads turned, eyes searching the room. Some glanced toward Leah with confusion, others whispered among themselves, skeptical or curious. I'm pleased to announce that Leah Kim has joined us as general manager, Mr. Patterson continued. His gaze met Leah's briefly. She brings years of experience from some of the most demanding kitchens back east and has been instrumental in increasing operational excellence wherever she has worked. She will be overseeing both the kitchen and front-of-house teams. An audible intake of breath passed through several clusters of staff. Leah stepped forward, voice steady and confident. Thank you, Mr. Patterson. I'm honored to be here, she said, addressing the room directly. I look forward to working with everyone, learning your strengths, and building a cohesive team where every role matters. In the back, Marco crossed his arms, his face tight, disbelief quickly morphing into discomfort. He blinked as if trying to dispel a stubborn hallucination. Just hours ago, he had been mocking Leah as a dishwasher, barely deserving notice. Now, she was standing at the center of the room, the highest authority present. His usual smirk faltered, his eyes darted anxiously from side to side, catching the questioning but respectful stares of other senior kitchen members. The silence felt heavy, the kind that fills a space when expectations are upended. Staff who had bandied jokes at Leah's expense now found themselves grappling with the reality of her role. Several younger cooks exchanged nervous glances, their previous dismissive attitudes replaced with a flicker of respect, or at least uncertainty. Leah's gaze swept the crowd. She saw the outlines of doubt, surprise, but also budding curiosity. She was no stranger to these moments, when perceptions shift suddenly, and the challenge lies in solidifying trust beyond first impressions. Let me be clear, Leah continued, her voice unfaltering. I don't expect immediate perfection. There will be adjustments and learning curves for all of us, myself included. But my commitment is to fairness, respect, and building a workplace where every team member thrives. Marco shifted his weight uneasily, jaw tightening. This was not the woman he had relegated to scrubbing dishes and cleaning spills. Yet the clear-eyed calm she displayed made him pause. She carried herself without arrogance, yet without hesitation. In that moment, the gulf between assumption and reality was unmistakable. Many in the room began to soften, absorbing Leah's words with guarded openness. The front-of-house staff, many of whom had been quietly observing the kitchen crew's presumptions, now saw the promise of an equilibrium that had been lacking. The whispered skepticism waned, replaced by a budding respect. Mr. Patterson stepped back in, nodding toward Leah. She will be conducting a full review of our operations starting tomorrow, and I urge all of you to cooperate and share your insights openly. This is a collective effort. As he spoke, Marco felt the weight of the room's new direction press upon him. The comfortable hierarchies he had taken for granted were quietly shifting beneath his feet. His pride bristled, but so did a spark of challenge. Perhaps there was more to this change than contempt. When the meeting concluded, guards lowered and conversations resumed in subdued tones. Leah made her way toward the kitchen doorway, ready to face whatever came next with the steady patience she had cultivated over years of leadership. Behind her, Marco lingered by the prep station, running a hand through his hair, processing the dizzying reversal. His earlier confidence was now tempered by an uneasy awareness. The new dishwasher was no longer invisible, she was the person in charge, and the kitchen would have to acknowledge that. The afternoon light filtering through the dining room windows cast an unflinching spotlight on the subtle shifts taking place. Leah Kim had arrived, not as a quiet subordinate, but as the authority who would guide the silver spoon through the challenges ahead. The team had been set on a new course, whether they embraced it or not. After the meeting dispersed, the dining room slowly emptied, leaving behind a faint aroma of rosemary and seared garlic that clung to the air. Leah remained standing near the corner, her attention fixed on a small group of senior staff who had gathered quietly, exchanging low voices. Mr. Patterson approached her with a reassuring smile, signaling for her to follow. "Let's have a word in my office," he suggested, leading the way through the back corridors flanked by gleaming stainless steel and vibrant produce crates. Once inside, Mr. Patterson closed the door behind them, his demeanor shifting from casual warmth to professional seriousness. "Leah, I want to make sure the team realizes not just the position you hold, but the depth of your experience. They need to understand why you're the right person for this role." Leah nodded, folding her hands calmly. "I agree. Too often, people equate authority with how someone looks or dresses, not what they bring to the table. I prefer to let performance and integrity speak for themselves." Patterson smiled, clearly pleased. "Well said. Just so you know, I'm planning a follow-up introduction tomorrow morning with the broader staff. I'll highlight your track record and the vision we're pursuing." Leah appreciated the thoughtfulness but felt compelled to offer a brief overview herself. "If you don't mind, I'd like to share a little about my background directly. It might help dispel any preconceived notions." Patterson nodded encouragingly. Leah began, her tone steady but sincere. "Before relocating here, I spent several years managing kitchens in New York City's competitive scene, places that demanded not just culinary skill but high efficiency, attention to detail, and team cohesion. I spearheaded projects that improved order turnaround time by over 30% and helped reduce staff turnover by fostering environments where employees felt supported." She paused, choosing her words carefully. "I was recognized as an outstanding hospitality leader by an industry association last year. But beyond awards, I believe leadership is about humility and understanding. I dress simply, sometimes deliberately so, because I want to observe how people behave when they don't know who I am. It reveals more than polished appearances." Mr. Patterson smiled appreciatively. "That's a refreshing perspective. And genuine." Leah continued, "Also, I came straight here from teaching a morning cooking class for underprivileged youth. That work reminds me daily why empathy and community matter in hospitality. It's not just about food or service, it's about connection." The conversation deepened as Patterson related details about the restaurant's history and challenges, scheduling conflicts, inefficiencies in communication between kitchen and front of house, and a few lingering tensions among senior staff. Leah took detailed notes, her eyes lighting with the possibilities of gradual but meaningful change. "Your values align well with what I want the silver spoon to represent," Patterson said. "We need a leader who can balance authority with understanding, someone who commands respect gently but firmly." Leah's thoughts turned to the team she had met briefly that morning, especially Marco, and the initial dismissal she had faced. "I intend to address the culture here. People will need clear expectations, but also fairness and open dialogue." "Exactly," Patterson replied. "And your choice to present yourself modestly today, it's already sparked conversations. Some see it as humility, others as a challenge to their assumptions. Either way, it's compelling." Feeling the weight of responsibility but also a quiet determination, Leah prepared a short address for the full staff. Later that evening, in the empty kitchen space, she rehearsed her words aloud. "Good leadership is not about grandeur. It's about consistency, respect, and trust. My first days will be spent learning from each of you. I want us to build a team that values every role equally, from dishwashers to executive chefs. Together, we'll craft an environment that uplifts all voices, that thrives on collaboration, and that delivers excellence without compromising dignity." On the following morning, Leah returned to the restaurant in clean, simple attire similar to the day before, a conscious choice to maintain the honest, unadorned approach she embraced. The morning sunlight filtered through the restaurant's windows, casting long beams over the polished silverware lined up on the tables. In the conference room, staff gathered around with a mixture of curiosity and cautious optimism. Mr. Patterson began by recounting Leah's accomplishments, her successful tenure in New York's fiercely demanding kitchens, the efficiency improvements she brought to each role, and the respect she earned from diverse teams. Then Leah took the floor. "I want to be transparent with you all about why I've chosen to present myself as I do," she said plainly. "I didn't want to rely on appearances to earn your trust or deference. Sometimes, clothing and titles can mask problems instead of solving them. I came directly from a community cooking class this morning. It keeps me grounded. And more importantly, I want to see the real dynamics here without filters." She looked around at the assembled staff, noting tentative nods from some of the cooks and servers. "My goal is to help this restaurant be not just a place of great food, but a place where every team member feels heard, respected, and empowered," Leah continued. "We'll be working on improving communication, streamlining operations, and fostering mutual respect across departments. I expect high standards, but I also expect fairness." The room's atmosphere shifted palpably. The earlier skepticism gave way to an attentive silence that carried an unspoken promise to at least entertain this new direction. Marcos sat near the back, jaw clenched but eyes no longer dismissive. He folded his arms but listened intently. Slowly, the realization settled: this wasn't just a passing manager. This was leadership that demanded a response. After Leah's talk, a few of the younger kitchen staff approached her with tentative questions about proposed schedule changes and team meetings. She answered each one patiently, welcoming dialogue rather than dictatorship. Later that day, walking through the kitchen, Leah observed the flow of orders, the exchange between line cooks and waitstaff, and the subtle power dynamics she'd seen unfold during the meeting. She noted Marco's unsteady but growing acceptance. There was resistance, yes, but underlying it was a new willingness to engage. Leah's strategy was clear: lead by example and inclusion, tempering authority with approachability. She believed this approach could mend fault lines and build a sturdier, more cohesive team. That afternoon, as the kitchen hum intensified for dinner service, Leah lingered near the pass, offering a brief word of encouragement to one of the prep cooks. The gesture, simple and genuine, punctuated a quiet transformation already underway. Her presence was no longer just an anomaly in plain clothes. It was becoming a cornerstone of the Silver Spoon's evolving identity. The next morning, the kitchen was unusually subdued, the usual buzz of banter replaced by a low, focused hum. Leah arrived early, moving with purpose through the gleaming corridors and into the front office, where Mr. Patterson gestured for a private conversation. "Marco is coming up in a moment," Patterson said quietly. "I want you both to have a candid discussion about yesterday's events and what I expect going forward." Leah nodded, her expression calm but resolute. "I agree. Clear expectations now will make the team stronger later." Minutes later, the door opened and Marco stepped inside, his posture rigid, eyes flicking nervously between Leah and Patterson. The bravado of the kitchen was nowhere to be seen. Instead, there was a palpable discomfort, a tension that spoke of a man realizing his assumptions had cost him standing. "Marco," Mr. Patterson began, "we've heard about your conduct yesterday toward Ms. Kim. Demeaning and disrespectful behavior like that undermines our workplace and will not be tolerated." Marco swallowed hard, jaw clenched. The room was silent except for the hum of the air conditioner, and the weight of the reprimand pressed down like an unspoken verdict. Leah spoke carefully. "I want to make it clear that my role here is to support this team and help it grow. That requires respect, between all levels, regardless of tenure or titles. We need a culture where everyone feels valued and heard." Marco's eyes dropped briefly. "I understand. It won't happen again." Mr. Patterson continued, Because of this, Marco, you'll be relieved of some leadership duties temporarily. You'll attend a professional conduct workshop and work closely with Leah during this transition." Marco nodded stiffly, a mixture of embarrassment and reluctant acceptance visible. The consequences were serious but fair, a call for change rather than punishment. Word spread quickly through the crew. The kitchen staff's whispered conversations now included discussions about accountability and respect. The uncertainty of the day before shifted into a cautious acceptance of Leah's authority. Throughout the day, Leah's approachability encouraged genuine collaboration. Several cooks sought her input on workflow improvements, and servers shared observations about timing and communication during service. The energy in the restaurant began to hum with renewed purpose. Marco, while still guarded, was seen consulting Leah on prep schedules and asking questions about order priorities. Though pride lingered, a subtle thaw was visible, a recognition that Leah's leadership was genuine and meaningful. Later that afternoon, Leah passed by the prep station where Marco was arranging fresh herbs, now more focused and less brusque. She stopped for a moment, catching his eye. He looked up, eyes serious, and offered a brief nod, a silent gesture that acknowledged the shift. Leah returned the nod, her expression steady but firm, signaling that while past mistakes were noted, the future was what mattered most. As the dinner service began, Leah moved confidently through the kitchen and dining areas. Staff responded to her presence with authentic respect, no longer masked by tension or skepticism. Servers glanced her way for guidance, and cooks adjusted their lines promptly under her subtle but effective direction. The restaurant itself seemed to breathe easier, the seamless coordination between kitchen and front of house a sign of emerging harmony. In the quiet moments between ticket rushes, Leah paused by the chef station, observing the team, Marcos included, not as separate individuals but as parts of a whole she was now charged to nurture. The journey ahead would have challenges, resistance always does. Yet, Leah walked through the silver spoon with a measured assuredness. She had entered the kitchen unnoticed, underestimated and dismissed. But now, she was the new boss, a leader who earned respect not by how she looked but by what she did and how she made others feel. Her stride was steady, her presence unmistakable. The restaurant was no longer just a place of polished appearances but one of real connection and shared purpose. As Leah moved toward the entrance, a quiet confidence settled within her, a promise fulfilled not with words, but with action.